have a real fondness in my heart for the ISA. One of the very first contests I ever applied to was Table Read My Screenplay Austin. I think you guys had just started doing that particular contest, and I was one of the first winners. And that screenplay, which was a short, went on to become The Dark of Night, which was directed by Robin Wright and starred Sam Rockwell and Leslie Bibb, and we went to Cannes. So anytime, and I'm not making this up, anytime the International Screenwriters Association has a competition or recommends a competition, it literally goes right to the top of the pile, because I know that you guys are really invested in making sure that screenwriters have the best opportunities. But as time has progressed and I've sort of learned to weed out other script competitions from one another, one of the main reasons it was so exciting to win the Fast Track Fellowship was because there comes a certain point when a laurel doesn't cut it. And a check doesn't cut it, really. What matters in this business isn't winning the contest, it's getting a screenplay made. And that's why I was so proud to win the ISA Fast Track Fellowship, because I got to be in front of 8 people I never would have met. And I had the opportunity to begin relationship building with these people. And I know that that is such a huge part of this. I had an experience not that long ago, actually with FREEFALL, which didn't come through the ISA Fast Track Fellowship, but it is kind of a great example of the importance of relationship building. I had a company reach out to me about a script that I'd written about 2 years ago. They'd read different iterations of it. They love it, but it didn't fit a mandate until 2 weeks ago. And then I get the call, is it still available? Can we look at it? And we've already had one meeting. We've got another one scheduled for next week. So when I look at a screenplay competition, it is no longer about just having the ability to brag, hey, I won this. It's where does it bring me in my career? And that's why the Fast Track Fellowship was so important, and why I now look at very specific, like, is there a mentorship? Is there a lab involved? What does the lab include? Who would I be talking to in the lab? Because also a lot of the contests will introduce you to people, but then you're not allowed to contact them afterwards, which also isn't helpful. And in this case, it was just really lovely to meet Amy Aniobi, I'm going to spit that out, and Dan Seco, and there are a couple of other people that I got to meet, and the door was open. That makes all the difference. Having applied to this many times and not expecting at a certain point, you know, there's this little game, I don't know if other screenwriters do this, although I imagine they do, there's a little game you play with yourself once you understand the progress of it, right? You get your email saying, you know, you're a quarterfinalist and a semifinalist, and that's all very exciting, but everyone knows that when you win, typically you get a phone call. And the day had gone on, and the day had gone on, and the day had gone on, and I'm like, well, this is probably good because I am going to Mexico the week that this is. So there's no possible way at this point in the day that I won. I was a finalist, and that's great. But then Molly Cash calls and she says, well, I'm calling to tell you that you're a genre winner and you also have been selected for the fellowship. And I actually started saying rather vulgar words because I'm like, oh, really? I did? So, which I probably, you know, shouldn't say out loud in a sentence, because I said to Molly, well, I'm going to be gone that week and I don't want to, maybe I can't do this. And I got off the phone and I talked to my husband, who's my biggest fan. And he's like, we don't have to go on vacation. And I said, yes, we do. I haven't been anywhere in forever. And I have 5 animals, so I need some time away. Mama needs to go have a beverage on the beach. But I called Molly back and I'm like, could I do this in Mexico? And she said, that was actually what we were going to suggest. We're going to make this work, whatever you need. And at that point, I'm like, I can't believe this. This is so exciting, because I just have gotten such support from the ISA all along over the course of years. Oh God, my week was amazing. Also considering the fact that having applied to this fellowship a million times before and finally winning it, what was involved, again, was really unique, because I had an opportunity to talk to Felicity Wren, to Jordan, and to Jaron, about the fellowship in general. But before every meeting, we would actually have sort of a pre-meeting. This is who you're going to be talking to. Let's go through some of the steps of what you're going to be pitching. What kinds of projects do you want to work on? Because, you're not supposed to just be about one script. It's supposed to be about your interests moving forward. And so I felt reinforced and supported and uplifted. And one day in particular, I went into this not feeling very good about myself or my writing career, which happens all the time with writers, as I'm sure you are aware. And they were right there to say, no, 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 you've got this. We've listened to these pitches. People are reporting back to us that you're doing really well. You come off really well. And then you're introduced to your executive. You get a half an hour to start with. And if you go beyond that, that's great. If they want to see your material moving forward, Dan Seco, for example, asked to see a TV pilot that I had written. And so I was able to ask a lot of questions, but I was also able to, again, start to establish that this is about who you know and what's available, and kind of planting a seed in an executive's head about, like, for example, one of the executives, and I apologize that I forgot her name, but she was with Nickelodeon. And as she pointed out, that, the material that I sent wasn't really for Nickelodeon. It's an action adventure with three female leads. But she said, I have some ideas and I might be in a position at some point in my career to circle back to you. So that was the kind of interactions that we were able to have. And then we also had an opportunity, and I say that lightly because I hate to pitch. I'm sure most writers love it, right? But at one point during the week, we also had kind of an open, not an open forum, but there was a sort of a pitch meeting where there were 5 pitches. 3 of them were pitch winners through the ISA. And having absolutely hated pitching, I killed it because I felt so supported. So it was such a well-rounded experience that I really felt like I came away from it having a better understanding of the industry, which is huge. I learned about how people look at things and how they think they can sell them, or if they can sell them. So there was just so many layers to this whole process that were so helpful and engaging and inspiring. So it was a terrific week. And again, so incredibly different. Like, I've been in labs where there's like 30 people in a Zoom call. This happened actually last summer. And you have one executive talking and one moderator asking questions, and then they go away. How does that help? Right? I think that this is for someone who's done all the work, who has really challenged themselves as a writer, that kind of goes back to a piece of material and continues to try to learn, and who brings their A game to this process, someone I would say who's on the verge. Like, I kind of almost thought of this competition as like, I'm on the cliff and I've got my wings on and I feel like I'm ready to fly, but I don't have any opportunities to. I've done all of the things I need to do to get to that cliff. And I've checked all my baggage and I've checked all my harnesses, but I need someone who believes enough in me that when I jump, they're going to catch me. And that, I think, is probably the best way to put this. You have to have done the work, and you have to know that this is a chance unlike any other, and you have to be prepared for that. I did get a couple of requests from agents and managers, got some feedback. Some people, like I mentioned, the woman at Nickelodeon is a great resource. I was so happy to meet her, but it was obvious that this was not going to be an immediate connection. So, we got back, and I actually did continue a conversation with a couple of the managers for a period of time. And then everyone went into, the holiday period. And some things have happened since then that aren't necessarily related to the ISA Fast Track Fellowship, but also inspired me to continue reaching out with material to see what could happen. So I actually had a meeting with an A-list company about FREEFALL, and we are continuing to have conversations about the script. One of the managers did say, you know, he wanted to know what else I was working on as things moved forward. I optioned a screenplay about 2 weeks ago that I had rewritten over the holidays. And I actually optioned it to the first producer that I sent it to, and it's out right now to financiers. So I wouldn't say in terms of a direct link. However, one thing that was actually very cool, I read Alan Jenkins, who was the other ISA Fellowship winner. He had a pilot episode, and I read it and I loved it. It is so incredibly well written. I mean, it does come from a place of tremendous knowledge because it's about the Supreme Court, and he was actually a clerk for a Supreme Court justice. But I loved it so much, I actually reached out to an actor I know who was looking for material, and I introduced Alan to this actor and his producing partner, and they have been in ongoing conversations about becoming involved in SCOTUS. And so that's an odd opportunity. I would have never read his script. I would have never known anything about it. And so I really feel like it hasn't necessarily had a direct result, but it has had kind of like a starburst effect, I guess, you know, where sort of one conversation leads me to think of somebody else I could approach, or someone circles back and says, you know, there's something, I read this a while ago and I'd like to take a look at it again. I think the only way that you know if you're progressing or not as a writer at a certain point in your career is to apply to screenwriting competitions. I feel that if you are, again, at that critical moment where you've done the work, you've got some screenwriting competitions under your belt. One of the things I think I heard a long time ago is if you're not placing, you're not writing your writing isn't there yet. It's not that you're not writing the right thing. It's just that you need to be placing in a competition. And if you've started placing in competitions as a semifinalist or a finalist, and you really need, like I said, that push to the next level, this is the perfect competition. You're confident in your work and you're getting good feedback, and you need to move to the next level. I cannot think of a better competition than this one. And I've been lucky to actually be part of some very good competitions, but this is the only one I think I've ever encountered where you really get a lot of one-on-one attention with people who are looking to answer your questions, to encourage you, potentially work with you moving forward. So I feel like it is definitely something for a writer that is ready to move to the next level. I've written a couple of effusive emails to people about the ISA Fellowship, but it's just really, but you know, that's someone like I wrote to Molly Cash and Felicity and Jaron and Jordan, but it's just really nice to be able to say to people who are in my shoes, this is worth doing, so do it.